Hey, we have one person. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the telephone town hall meeting. This is State Representative Al Pashoka. We're in Lansing tonight, the state capitol, and we do these calls about once every quarter, probably 3-4 times a year. We try to have a telephone town hall meeting, and it's a great opportunity for you to ask me questions. And to do that, hit zero to ask a question, and that gets you into the queue. So if you hit zero, someone will pick up the phone. They'll bring it in to me, and we'll take as many questions as we can. We try to get 15 to 20 questions in. We'll be on the air here for about an hour. So this is State Rep Al Pashoka. Welcome to the telephone town hall meeting. I'm going to give you kind of a quick update of some things that are happening up here, and then we'll start to take questions. So again, if you've got a question, press zero on your keypad, and that'll get you to the queue, get you to me, and we can start taking your questions. I really want to hear from you rather than listen to myself talk. I'd rather hear what questions you've got on your mind, and I'll try to get through as many of them as I can. So sometimes I will give a very blunt answer, and if you know me, I tend to be a little bit blunt at times anyway. So first of all, I had the opportunity this week to wish Harry Gast a happy birthday. And Harry is 94 years old, and of course he was not only the former state representative, but the former state senator, and served really is a terrific public servant, somebody that I still talk to, especially when we're going through the budget negotiations, because he spent more than 25 years on the budget here at the state capitol. So again, press zero to get into the queue, press zero. And we'll start to take some questions. First thing I want to talk about, though, is some pretty good news, and we just got a report today on jobs in Michigan. And this was primarily about manufacturing, but Michigan continues to be the #1 state in the country for manufacturing job growth. We've had over 110,000 just manufacturing jobs created in the last 4 years. And we got some pretty good news from one of my manufacturers in St. Joe Township this week. I try to meet with my manufacturers and small business people as much as I can. And they indicated that they were going to be making a $5 million investment in their plant and adding about 10 jobs. So that was really good news. And they were looking actually for 10 people to work on the floor, but they were also looking for an engineer as well. So again, this is State Representative Al Pashoka. This is the telephone town hall meeting, and we want to hear from you. So press zero to ask a question. Press zero to ask a question, and that'll get you into the queue and get you onto the conference. So the first thing is still some pretty good news on the jobs front here in Michigan, especially in terms of manufacturing. That's good. Those are primary jobs. They're spin-off jobs created when you create manufacturing jobs, so that's all really good news. A couple of things I want to touch on. I know as I was out this summer and knocking on doors and going to meetings and having town halls and doing lots of different things. In fact, we've got some office hours coming up, and I'll share those with you as well. The #1 issue that I was hearing about was let's somehow get our roads and bridges fixed. Let's try to do that without big increases in taxes. And one of the things I can report to you is in the last 12 months, we have appropriated about $800 million for roads and bridges in Michigan without increasing taxes. And I think that's good, because one of the things that we've been hearing from you is that you want us to prioritize our spending, that you think you already send enough money to the state capitol, and let's prioritize what we are given here. So out of that $10 billion that's in the general fund, we've appropriated $800 million over the last 12 months that have gone to roads and bridges And that's why you're starting to see now a lot more orange barrels up over the course, especially in southwest Michigan, along I-94, and some other of our roads finally getting some work. So we've appropriated those dollars. They're now into the system. The bids are out, and you'll start to see some work at the end of the fall, and then also a lot of work is planned for the spring. I know we've got a couple of projects in southwest Michigan that'll be coming on this spring. Press 0 to ask me a question. I want to hear your questions. Don't want to hear and listen to me talk for 60 minutes. So press 0 to ask a question, and we'll get you on the air. A couple of other things. We mentioned that we've tried to prioritize spending for roads. The other area where we've prioritized our spending and looked to make some investments was in K-12 and early childhood education. So over the last 4 years, the increase in K-12 education has come out to about $1.4 billion. But at the same time, we've seen a big reduction in federal aid to K-12 schools. That's gone down to the tune of about 254. Okay. We're going to go to a call here in St. Joseph, and I think it's Nydia. How are you, Nydia?
Good. It's Nydia. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Good. Yeah, I spoke to you, I would say a couple months ago, it was in the summertime, in regards to the crossing here at Upton Middle School.
Yep.
Like how our subdivision is, how it flows with the traffic leading towards the school.
Yep.
Primarily that now since school has started, hasn't gotten any better. I know that now we have our 2 kids walking across the street there, and it seems to still be an issue where the traffic is just nonstop. It doesn't.
So,
I'm sorry.
Nydia, just so the folks that are listening,
sure.
She lives directly across from Upton Middle School in the neighborhood, kind of adjoining Upton Middle School, and the issue is there's a neighborhood there. And there's some school kids in there, not only you, but some other families as well. There's some young families back there.
Absolutely.
And in the old days, we always had the old AAA security guards or crossing guards that were, they were either volunteers or sometimes they were paid by the school district to help the kids across school, or across especially a busy road where you are. You're right there on Maiden Lane. So
right.
The issue is, how do we get across Maiden Lane safely, correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have put a call in to the superintendent, and we're going to meet and talk about that, and I think we're going to try to sit down with the folks at Upton, too, to see if we can find some sort of resolution. I don't know if it's finding a volunteer, perhaps, that could do just the early morning and the afternoon, but there's some people. We're going to put our heads together and see what we can do. Yeah, I didn't forget about you. I just remembered you were out painting, and you've got 3 or 4 kids, right?
No, we have 5.
You got 5. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
We have 5. Yes. Mhm. And
yeah.
We have more kids of ours to be crossing there here shortly. So.
Yeah. No, I didn't forget about you. We're still working on it, and I'm glad you called. So and maybe what we can do, too, I think I wrote down your phone number, but is there a way I can get her back on hold to get her number? Why don't you do this? Can you call here tomorrow and and talk to either Kirsty or Adam, or I will answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And the number is 888-656-0079. 888-656-0079.
Okay.
So we've got your number, and we can get back to you after we meet with the school folks.
Sure, sounds great.
Okay. All right.
Sounds perfect. You. All right, well, thanks, Al.
Thank you, Nida. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yep. All right, press 0 if you want to get into the queue and ask a question. This is State Representative Al Pashoka. This is our telephone town hall meeting. We try to do 3 or 4 of these a year, and it's your opportunity to ask me some questions that are out there. And let's go to Chris in Waterville. He is going to be up next. And again, press 0 if you want to get into the queue. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hey, good, Al. How you doing?
Good, not too bad.
Well, first and foremost, great win by Lakeshore Friday night.
Man, there was a lot of defense Friday night. Both teams played some big defense.
I've gotten in your grill before about St. Joe beating you in, but yeah, you guys put it to them. So congratulations. And I miss listening to you on the radio there.
Well, I'm back.
I'm back.
Are you? Yep, I'm back. I'm on 94.9 on Friday night.
I'll have to pick that up.
An arrangement worked out with the radio station and my competitors. So anyway, what can I help you with, bud?
A couple things, Al.
Okay.
Number one, I'm a life member. Well, my father was a life member also of VFW Post 1137 in Benton Township.
Benton Township.
And yeah, we've had some roof problems, and there was at one point you had thought that you could maybe give us some help with that. We're struggling.
We tried to get the Comcast guys out there. That's what we were trying to do, as I recall. Yep.
The what guys?
Well, Comcast has like a day of caring where they have all the Comcast people come in and they make contributions and they volunteer and things like that.
Oh, yeah, that happened, but we still have a roof.
That was probably too big of a
problem.
job to do, because as I recall, the whole roof needs to be replaced out there.
Yeah, and we're looking for help with that, and I'd just like to reiterate that, but that's not my only point or my only question.
Okay.
The recent letter to the editor in the Herald Palladium had mentioned something about getting a more VA hospital, like a VA hospital started up around here.
Right.
And that Cedarwood Medical building in South St. Joe there would be an awesome, I think, a great place to do something like that, because, man, we're going to, a clinic.
Going to Battle Creek.
But
yeah, you're going to Battle Creek. You're going to the.
Right.
There's the clinic in Benton
South
Harbor,
Bend.
and then you've got to go to you got to get a ride to Battle Creek, or a lot of folks you got to drive to Battle Creek,
Cedarwood
Indianapolis.
Yeah, Cedarwood has so much there already, X-ray and all sorts of stuff. I don't know if we can get Upton involved in this or anything, and looking into actually utilizing that's a great space. I mean, I've been treated there. It's not that old of a building.
Yep. No, I think that's a great idea, and that's a federal issue, so that's a good one for Upton's office to look into. I know at one time too, Chris, they were looking at possibly building a new veterans facility in South Bend. So I don't know where that is it's the federal government. Sometimes they get a little problem getting things done, but that would be a great building for a veterans facility locally, is the old Cedarwood Medical there in Southtown. Absolutely. It's a great idea.
That's the main reason I called you, so you could probably maybe shake Upton's tree.
I could put a bug in his ear. Sure. Yeah.
And
no, I read that letter to the editor. I think it's a great idea. Now they'll have to go through a whole process, and is the market big enough, and do we have enough veterans who would utilize it, and do that? They'll have to do a study in that whole ball of wax. But yeah, it's a great idea. There's
a lot of veterans here, Al. A lot of veterans here.
A ton of them. Yep. All right, buddy. I appreciate it. Is that it?
Yeah, and I want to thank you for your service. I think you do a good job, and you know how it goes. Usually the first team wins in the series, and then
you get the playoffs, buddy.
And then you get the playoffs, so we'll see what happens. But beyond all that, go Waterville Elite.
Hard to beat a good team twice, man. Waterville Elite is on fire this year.
Well, we've been better, but
when you beat Mendon, you get my attention.
Oh, good. That's good.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thank you, Al. Have a good evening.
Thank you. That's Chris from Waterville Elite. This is State Representative Al Pasholka. This is the telephone town hall meeting. If you've got a question for me, go ahead and hit zero, and that's what Dave in Stevensville did. Dave in Stevensville, you are up next. Hey, Dave.
Hi, Al. How you doing? My name's
Good.
Dave, and I live on 5999 Longhorn Trail, just down the road from in Stevensville.
That is.
Yep. And I'm interested in understanding what the Republican Party is going to do to try to bring more manufacturing jobs to southwestern Michigan.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that there are some manufacturing jobs that are open in southwest Michigan, and one of the problems we're having, Dave, right now is filling them. They're filling some of those positions that are out there. I talked early on, there's a company in St. Joe Township that we worked with about 2 years ago, K Manufacturing. They are making an additional $5 million investment, creating about 10 jobs. They've created 40 already. They've had pretty good luck with the workforce issue. I talked to the owner last week, but I'm talking to some of my other manufacturers who claim that they're having a hard time finding people. And one of the things that I think the state made a mistake about 10 years ago is when we told kids and their parents that manufacturing in Michigan was dead, and everybody go get a 4-year degree, didn't matter what it was in, and you'd be fine. That is not the message we should have had out there for kids. And one of the things I support are more dollars for career technical education. We just passed a couple of bills to make it easier in the Michigan Merit Curriculum to take career and technical ed, which I think is important. We're trying to flip the script again, and to me, what we ought to be telling our young people is, look, everybody out there needs training beyond high school. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a 4-year degree. It could be an apprenticeship, it could be an internship, it could be a 2-year degree, it could be a 1-year certificate at the community college, it could be training in the military, but everybody needs training beyond high school, but that might not necessarily mean that everybody needs a 4-year degree, because we have got 72,000 jobs open in the state, and that's not only manufacturing, that's everything from accounting to zoology. And across the country, we've got 4.5 million jobs open, and we've got about 8 million people looking. So there are some manufacturing opportunities out there. One of the things that we did is we passed the personal property tax reduction, and the voters also approved that. I think that's going to be a big help, especially for manufacturers who've been paying taxes on 20-year-old equipment for all these years. I think the economic gardening that we're doing now, as opposed to just handing out tax credits, Michigan has become a lot more attractive for investment. But we've got to solve the skills gap and the workforce issue in order to keep attracting the manufacturing jobs that are out there. And the manufacturing jobs that we have now are a lot different than when I was in school. And it's not grandpa's manufacturing. I mean, this is advanced manufacturing. You got to know how to run a computer. You got to know how to run some specialized equipment. So Michigan's doing a lot of different things. We've tried to make the business climate better for everyone. And, you know, we were in the bottom 10 for years and years and years, and now we're in the top 10 in some of those categories. So, you know, I think we're turning the corner, but yeah, we still got some work to do.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your response.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And, yeah, if you got another question, just come down and knock on the door, will you?
Yep, I will. I know where you're at.
Right.
Thank
you. Thanks, Dave. All right. Dave's
Bye-bye.
my neighbor at 5999, and I'm at 5810 Longhorn Trail. If you got a question for me, please hit 0. Please hit 0, and you can get into the queue. This is State Rep Al Pasholka. This is our telephone town hall meeting. We do several of these a year, so glad you could be with us on I know it's a pretty nice night out there, and there's probably a Tiger game on. Let's go to Eldon in Coloma. Hi, Eldon.
Good evening, Mr. Pashoka.
Call me Al.
Okay.
All right.
Glad to be able to talk to you.
You bet.
My wife is handicapped, and as we shop at some of the local stores, namely Myers and Walmart, as we travel along anyway, looking for a handicap spot and to find everything full. And as I canvass those, it is not unusual for the non-handicapped violators to outnumber the handicapped legitimate people. And I've tried to deal with that in terms of talking to the store managers. Then I took it to Benton Township, which in both instances they were just completely not listening, didn't care. And the problem has gotten significantly worse. I'm sure I'm not the only one impacted by that. So I drive around trying to find a spot that's close or to drop my wife off, and then I'm stuck going somewhere. And it's a shame. Now, in 2 occasions, I've approached clear violators. In one case, the gentleman, so-called, threatened my life severely, and in the other case, the lady said, well, hers is in the mail, which is, of course, another piece of hogwash. And when I see Benton Township, for example, because I'm told that they canvass these areas, in one case, they just parked next to the store, walked in, talked to somebody, and left. On another situation, they drove slowly through the parking lot, in which case they could not have even come close to scanning for violators. This is a pure violation of the law, and it's getting worse. Frankly, it bothers me a lot.
Yeah, one of the things that we meet with all the local elected officials once a month. So that's everybody from Bridgman to Baroda to St. Joe to Benton Township to Benton Harbor. And what I'll do, Eldon, is I'll bring this up at that meeting and try to see if they can make local law enforcement a little more sensitive to this, because you're not the only person who's said this to me, and we've had others who've said either the spaces, and a lot of times those spaces aren't the right size. We've noticed that too, especially if you've got a van, and folks who've got the wheelchair in the van, that it's difficult to sometimes squeeze in there. So one of the things we'll do is we'll talk to all the local elected officials when they gather and say, look, we'd really like your local law enforcement people to be looking for this. I mean, there's a reason that law is on the books. It's important, and we've got to enforce it, and we've got to make sure it's enforced the right way. And the other thing is I'd like for them to make sure that not only are the proper number of spaces available, but they're the right size for some of those vehicles that have got to get in and out of there.
What I sense is that some people are watching other people violate this, and as a consequence, this problem is growing proportionately forward, and it's just a shame because they know they are getting away with it.
Yeah, no, and I think the fines are, I want to say they start at $100. Does that sound right? I mean, the one thing we could look at the fines to get folks' attention too, because if it's a $40 or $50 fine, maybe people are willing to take the risk. But if the fine was more, maybe they would think twice.
Just coincidentally, I happened to be at Lakeland today and parked in the parking garage. And it happened to be that there was a St. Joe official marked car, but not a police car. And I know these people who actually look for that type of violation, and they will put a notice on your windshield, which at least is a heads up or a good reminder.
Sure.
But that only happens in the city of St. Joe, and I have noted that, and they do a good job. And, of course, the violations in that area are significantly less, I would quickly say, than in other areas.
Yeah, because they enforce it. Yeah, I think you're right, Eldon. Well, thank you for the call, and God bless you and your wife.
You bet. I appreciate
right.
your activity, and you're doing good.
Thank you.
Keep
Thanks,
up the
Eldon.
good work.
Will do. It's Eldon from Coloma. If you've got a question and you want to get into the queue, hit 0. Hit 0 now. Hit 0, and we will get you into the queue and get you on the air on the telephone town hall meeting. A couple of things. We're going to get to Dale and Coloma here in a second. I just want to make you aware, I've got some coffee hours coming up. We call them coffee hours or office hours. The next one is Saturday, October 4th, from 8 to 9 a.m. That's at Mill Creek Charlie's in Waterville, right off I-94. It's Saturday, October 4th, 8 to 9. And then Monday, October 20th, from 6 to 7, new spot for us, Panera Bread in St. Joseph. Boy, there's usually a lot of people at Panera Bread, too. So hit 0 if you want to ask a question. Hit 0 if you've got a question, you want to get into the queue. This is the telephone town hall meeting, and let's go to Dale in Coloma. You are up next. Hey, Dale, how are you?
Hey, Big Al, your favorite fire guy. Hey, I got one for you. How you doing?
I'm doing
well, I'm doing worse after last Saturday at Ann Arbor. We don't want to talk about that.
I just talked to a University of Michigan regent, and I can report that Brady Hoke is in some deep water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the word. And if you get time, not to digress here, but go on the Free Press and read the story from quarterback Bill Taylor from a few years ago, and he went after. So.
He's Billy. Yeah, he's not too happy. That's
Yeah.
Michael Taylor. Billy Taylor.
Oh, Michael. I'm sorry. That's
Billy
right.
Taylor was the tailback who scored the touchdown against the big upset against Ohio State. Remember?
That's right.
69. Yep.
Well, I'm glad the regents are getting the heat because my oldest brother, the PhD, is more livid than I am. Reason for the call, I just got word of this the other night from the gentleman that's in charge of Berrien County Firefighters Training Council. When you guys passed the fireworks law, part of the fees that were generated from fire inspections of retail selling locations was supposed to go into the Michigan Firefighters Training Fund. Well, and I don't know if you knew about it, Al, but that, whether it be Bureau of Fire Safety or DLEG, has decided to cut those dollars back and put those monies somewhere else in your state budget. Berrien County just took approximately a $4,000 hit from what they're being told by some people in Lansing. Because it was supposed to be at least $10,000 a year that comes to train all the 700-plus firefighters in Berrien County. And
a lot of that depends on how many fireworks they sell, though.
Exactly. Well, last year they were up. Well, it's based on how many permits are written. But it's one for your staff to maybe check into, because if DLEG or Bureau of Fire Safety, which just had a major shakeup within the last 6 months, is doing this in opposite of what your legislation did, then it's a new mission for you, sir.
Well, we'll certainly look into it, Dale, because of course that whole fireworks thing has generated quite a bit of controversy.
I realize that. Yep.
And
for some reason.
We've made some changes to that to give the locals a little bit more control. And boy, some of those things they're dangerous. They're not fireworks. They're like bombs going off. I mean, they're
1-inch mortars that can actually go through a human body if you're standing over it. And on the fire side, they're dangerous,
Yep. We have some injuries this year, too.
So
I just want to remind folks, while I've got Dale on the air, press 0 if you want to ask a question. This is State Rep Al Pashoka. It's the telephone town hall meeting. Press 0 if you want to get into the queue and ask a question. So, that's we'll look into that, because that's all supposed to be, that's a restricted fund. Is
exactly, and that's and the individual, which I'll do I can call your office tomorrow and give you. You'll know the individual when I tell you. It's a former St. Joe employee, but is directly involved with the training council, and they literally got their budget cut big time. So. Appreciate all the help. Go Lancers.
All right. Thanks. All right.
Take care,
thanks,
sir.
Dale.
Bye-bye.
All right. That's Dale from Coloma. Press 0 if you want to ask a question. Press 0 Right now, we do have a couple of openings for you to get in. If you've got a question for me, again, this is State Rep Al Pashoka. It's the telephone town hall meeting, something we do. We try to do 3 or 4 of these a year, but at least once a quarter, in addition to some of the other town halls and some of the other things that we've been doing. One of the things we've been working on is this whole issue of the odor of the landfill out in the Watervliet-Coloma area. We just had our second town hall meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was very well attended. We took a survey of the folks that were there as well. The first one, we had about 150 people there, and obviously some issues out there with the methane plant, some issues that we tried to resolve, and the good news is we've made some progress. I don't think it'll ever be perfect, I think, with the landfill out there, but we have made a significant amount of progress in a very short amount of time, working with both the Department of Environmental Quality and the landfill owners. The owners of Orchard Hill Landfill Bestway Disposal have really stepped up and put some dollars and put some resources behind making some changes out there. They've actually developed a dewatering system, because what's happening is methane wells are being produced out there to produce electricity, and they've done a good job developing a dewatering system that's actually mobile, which allows them to dewater those wells, and it's proven to be pretty successful so far. So far so good. We'll have another town hall meeting coming up in the Coloma-Watervliet area this winter. I'm going to guess maybe around January or so, and we're going to try to do that every 3 or 4 months, just to continue to make some progress out there and continue to monitor that situation. The DEQ has been out there a lot to monitor as well. So it's been a good partnership between my office, the DEQ, the residents who live in the Coloma-Watervliet area, and the landfill owners themselves. Again, press 0 if you've got a question. Press 0 if you have a question. And we can go back over some of the things that are going on here in Lansing, some of the things that we're working on, some of the things that are upcoming. I actually had a bill in committee today, in the Energy and Technology Committee. It's called Energy Performance Contracting. And what this will do is this will allow the community colleges across the state to use energy performance contracting, and the savings that they get from these private sector companies will be able to be used to purchase new infrastructure, new heating and air conditioning systems, without raising taxes or without any more additional spending. So they'll take their existing utility bill, and the savings off of that will be used to purchase new equipment. It won't be more debt for the community college or the folks at LMC or anything like that. Currently, they're allowed to do that, but there's only a 10-year payback period. What we're going to do, and what my legislation does, is extend that out to 15 years, and we're actually looking to make it a cap of 25 years, where they'll be able to capture that money and put it back into infrastructure that they need at the community college. So without raising taxes or doing anything like that, they'll be able to make some improvements. It's something we've utilized here at the state of Michigan. It works. So the community colleges will be able to do that as well. So that legislation will come out of committee next week, and I think it'll be signed by the governor and through the Senate by the end of the year. So we look forward to that bill moving as well. Again, press 0 if you want to ask a question. This is State Rep Al Pashoka, and we've got a couple of lines open right now. Press 0 to ask a question. This is the telephone town hall meeting. Glad you could be with us on a Tuesday evening. A couple of other things going on. One of the things that I heard a lot about as I knocked on your door this summer were the condition of our roads and bridges across the state, and a lot of folks saying, hey, look, somehow make something happen and get the job done and see if we can get these roads and bridges fixed without a big increase in taxes, without a big increase in revenue going to the government. Isn't there a way that you can better utilize the dollars that we send you right now to the state capitol. So a lot of us got together. We worked on a series of bills. One of the things we talked about was better quality of the roads. We talked about the weight of the trucks on the roads, how we could do a better job there. There's a whole quality initiative that we're looking at in the contracting and the standards of the roads, and looking at changing some of the tax structures and how money comes in. A lot of folks don't know, but there's not only do you pay the pump tax, you also pay sales tax on gasoline. So when you go to the pump, you pay that 19 cents to the state, 15 cents to the federal government. You also pay a 6% sales tax, and some of that is by Constitution guaranteed to go to schools, and some of that money is guaranteed to go to local governments. So what we did in this legislation was we said, look, there's 7/8 of a penny that was actually getting swallowed up and in government and going to the general fund, and what if we took that and said that money must go to concrete, must go to road construction. We did that. That was part of that package that we passed at the end of, it was about the end of May. We passed a package on roads that would have brought in about $500 million without raising taxes. That's an additional $500 million that we could put into roads and bridges. So that was a good first step. It doesn't solve everything, but what we have done over the last 12 months is we put about $800 million of general fund money into roads and bridges. It is a priority. I think everyone heard that loud and clear this summer. I know I did. I hope all of our senators did too. So press 0 if you want to get into a question. We'd love to hear from you. So press 0 to ask a question, and we're going to go to Frank in Bridgman, who has a question about school funding. Hey, Frank, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I was just hearing a lot about school funding lately, and just kind of wanted to know what's going on in Michigan with that.
Yeah, well, thanks, Frank. That's a great question. That's something that's talked about a lot as well. It's investing in education, and a couple of things on school funding. What we have seen is an increase in state support for K-12 schools and early childhood. The early childhood programs in Michigan received a $130 million increase in the last 2 years, in the last 2 budgets that we've put together, and that's something that we may not see a return on for a number of years. That's really investing in the future and for the long term. We may not see, we're going to see hopefully higher graduation rates because we have more 4-year-olds starting in school and in preschool in Michigan, so that's a good thing. In the K-12 area, what's happened in K-12, when I got here, the budget was about $10.6 billion in state money, but it was about $2.2 billion additional federal dollars. This year, in Michigan, the K-12 investment in education will be $12 billion. So that's an increase of about $1.4 billion over the last 4 years. That's a good increase, and that means that in state support, just state support of K-12 education is at its highest level in the history of the state. But on the other hand, federal support of Michigan schools has gone down, and that's down about $254 million over the last 3 years. So we've seen the decline in federal aid, an increase in state aid in education in K-12. So it's kind of where that stands right now. I think we do need to invest in our kids. We need to make sure that we're paying down our debt and liabilities, which we're doing with some of the reforms that we did with pensions that are helpful and putting more money into school classrooms rather than old debt and retirement debt. So I hope that answers your question, Frank.
Yeah,
That was a lot.
Yeah,
That was a long answer.
well, it sounds like Michigan is doing more. So thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Frank. And that's Frank from Bridgman. And if you've got a question, please hit 0. Please hit 0, and we'll get you into the queue. This is the telephone town hall meeting. State Representative Al Pashoka with you. We'll be on about 15 more minutes. So we've got about 15 more minutes, and then we'll end the call shortly before 8 o'clock. One of the issues that was brought up earlier here today had to do with manufacturing and had to do with manufacturing jobs in Michigan. Of course, we are the place where we build and we create and we make things, and we are known for that. The good news is that compared to any other state, over the last 4 years, Michigan has created 110,000 manufacturing jobs. Not all of those are auto-related. About 25% they can trace back to the auto industry itself. The rest of them are a pretty broad spectrum of manufacturing, whether it's medical devices or office equipment or lots of different products being built in Michigan. We've diversified really our manufacturing base. While autos are still very important and probably number one, we also see a lot of manufacturing across the spectrum. So that's been good news. So we've had about 110,000 new jobs created in manufacturing, and it's actually put us again, we're within 1,000 or 2,000 of being the number one state in manufacturing, or passing Illinois in manufacturing. So we're starting to see some good news in manufacturing, and the nice thing about that, those are those primary jobs that lead to some spin-off jobs and some other opportunities that are out there across our state. So that's good stuff. We're happy about that. We've seen some good news locally, seen a number of our manufacturers make investments. As I said earlier, we talked to one of our manufacturers this week who said he's making a $5 million investment, creating 10 new jobs in St. Joe Township, and also looking for an engineer as well. So again, hit 0 if you'd like to ask a question. Hit 0, and we'll get you into the queue. We want to hear from you. But the big issue that really is out there that's long-term, and I think the legislature's got to start looking at it. We have, by channeling more of our resources toward career and technical education, making it easier for CTE classes. I think we need to make it easier for CTE certification of teachers as well. And I think we need to get the business community more involved in schools from the standpoint of not only providing internships and opportunities for kids to come in and visit, but I think they also, one of the ideas that I talked to the Chamber of Commerce about was, why don't we start asking for high school transcripts for people who are under the age of 21, just to send the message that, look, we think what you do in school is really important. It's really valuable. And on that transcript really are three things: our test scores, your grades, and your attendance. So those are really important things, and as a community, I think if we start to do that, it doesn't need to be a state thing. It doesn't need to be a state law. It just needs to be something that we can do as a community to tell our teachers and tell our kids, hey, this is really important what you're doing. We value it, and we want to ask about it, and that's why we're asking about it. So again, if you've got a question, a question to ask, please press 0. Please press 0. One other item I want to talk about before we go here today is the cost of higher education. As some of you know, I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and one of my subcommittees that I have the honor to chair is the Higher Education Subcommittee. So that's the 15 public universities and some funding as well for some of the privates. That budget is about nearly $1.5 billion a year. And unfortunately, we spend $2 billion a year in prisons in Michigan. And I think that I'd like to see us flip that number. I think we ought to be spending $2 billion in higher ed and maybe $1.5 billion in prisons. But that's probably a whole other conversation we can have another time. But the good news in higher ed, over the last 2 years that I've had the opportunity to chair the committee, one of the things that I've talked to the universities about is the level of debt that our kids are coming out with, and it's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable for our young people. It's not sustainable for our families, and we've got to find a way to start to reduce and hold the line on the cost of tuition. Not only that, but tuition and all other expenses related to higher education. So in this last budget, I went to the universities and said, look, I'm willing to make an investment of hard-earned tax dollars if you are willing to hold the line on tuition and keep it to 3% or under. And the good news is that Michigan public, the 15 public universities, the average increase was 2.7%. So it's better. It's closer to the rate of inflation. We actually had Grand Valley State took all of their performance funding, because we're now measuring their performance, their graduation rates, the number of people they have in STEM skills, their administrative costs. We're measuring that across the board. And what we find is we go ahead and reward them. The better they do, the more performance money they get. And at Grand Valley State University, they did a great job with their budget this year. What they did is they took all of their performance funding and they gave it to students in the form of financial aid. And what that led to was a net reduction in their tuition rate this year. So that's the type of thing we've got to start to get to. We've got to start to bend that cost curve down. We know schools are doing more with online education. We really need, we can't have our kids coming out with the level of debt that they've got. So let's go back to the phones. Again, hit 0 if you want to get in and talk. And this is Suzanne from Riverside. All right. Hey, Suzanne, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good.
Now
Thanks
my
for
question.
listening to me. I was tired of talking.
Okay, you're welcome. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for giving me the T-shirt at the Glad Peach Parade this year. I was the one from the Coloma band that when it came up and begged for one.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, my question is in regards to the modification of the backyard farm law. You know how the no chickens and no goats and that. What did that stem from? Is that because it's getting out of control? Is it because it can't be taxed? Is it?
No. You know, the whole right to farm law was not about farming in neighborhoods, not having chickens in the backyard. It was really to protect our rural areas and farms. It really wasn't meant to do that. So we're actually going in and tweaking those things a little bit to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and we're working with Farm Bureau and some other groups to do that. It really wasn't meant. I think some folks thought it was for urban farming or something, and that really wasn't what Right to Farm was about.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there was the opportunity to give some power back to the local units of government, but it wasn't about, hey, let's go out and create a bunch of urban farming. So it was really to protect farmland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not penalizing anybody and.
No.
Okay.
Right to Farm was what I thought originally was really a very positive thing.
Right.
But sometimes, as things get implemented, they're not perfect, so we've got to go back and fix them.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
You're still wearing that T-shirt, though, right?
Oh, yes, I am.
All right. Wear that T-shirt around town for the next month.
Oh, okay, I will. I'll wear it to work tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Suzanne. Good question.
Thank you.
We don't
Bye-bye.
get enough questions. Thanks. Thank you. And, of course, we have such a great ag area. We had the opportunity to get some Honeycrisp apples from the Dave Pagel Farms. Yeah, and they are really, really good. I mean, we had a great year for apples, not a good year for peaches, not a good year for cherries, not a good year for grapes, but the apple guys and apple women are doing very well. And if you can, and there's nothing like a fresh piece of fruit from Southwest Michigan. And if you've got friends in California or Georgia or some of these other places, they don't even know what a strawberry tastes like until you've tasted a Michigan strawberry in June or a Michigan peach in August. These guys don't even know what real fruit tastes like. So, again, want to thank everybody for listening tonight. We'll do another one of these coming up maybe by the end of the year, somewhere around there. And we look forward to telephone town hall meetings over the next year. A couple of things to remind you of. You can also get on my website and sign up for the newsletter. That's www.reppashoka79.com. www.reppashoka79.com. I've got some office hours coming up. First one, Saturday, October 4th, 8 o'clock. I will see you at Mill Creek Charlie's. I'll buy the coffee at Mill Creek Charlie's on Saturday, October 4th at 8 o'clock. And then Monday, this is a Monday night before football, Monday, October 20th at Panera Bread in St. Joseph. So Monday the 20th, 6 o'clock, Panera Bread in St. Joe. Saturday, October 4th, 8 a.m., Mill Creek Charlie's in Waterville 8, right off I-94. So again, thanks for tuning in on the telephone tonight. Appreciate the time that you took to listen, and the folks that called in had really good questions out there as well tonight. So again, this is State Rep Al Pashoka. Thanks for being with us on the telephone town hall meeting. And again, God bless and good night.